Okay, we're gonna start off by listening to the aria. Okay, actually, yeah, let's just start off. I'm just gonna crop it. Okay, restart.
Il faut-il que de deux amants, l'un manque de tempérament et l'autre a ce coin de nature? Impitoyable aventure. Et ces gens-là se disent espagnols dans le pays de Donia Sol, à deux pas de l'Extremadure. Le temps me dure, dure, dure. Et l'autre plus grotesque encore, de l'horloge ne peut sortir rien qu'amico, avec son ventre empêtré de breloques. Maintenant, le jour va finir, et mon époux va revenir. Et je reste fidèle et pure, à deux pas de l'Extremadure, au pays du Guadalquivir. Le temps me dure, dure, dure. Ah, pour ma colère passée, avoir quelque chose à casser, à mettre en bouillie, en salade.
One thing I do want to note before we go on is um, I wasn't able to find a recording with the full thing, so the full score that I have been looking at, which is what is used in the opera, has an extra couple of measures at the end with an extra singing line that we'll later on see how it repeats, but she didn't sing it, but just letting you know when we look at it. Okay, so share my slide. All right. So, title of my project is called Cohesion and Discombobulation, a research presentation by Erica Carranza. All right, so a little introduction and my argument in here. So basically, Maurice Ravel was a French composer and pianist born March 7th of 1895 and died December 28th, 1937. One of the most prestigious composers from his time, he wrote many operas. Laud Espagnole was one of his first major works. This one-act opera is a comedic opera about a clockmaker's wife who deems to be the most pure and faithful wife there is, when she in fact is actually mischievous. In the aria I'm going to be presenting, Ola Pitoyable Aventure, she is full of emotion, mostly rage, and this aria is peak emotion for the main character Conception. The song opens with a loud outburst and sense of erraticness with no sense of real form. What I'm going to advance is that there are aspects of cohesion throughout. Though the aria seems discombobulated, these aspects of cohesion rest mostly in the repetition of section A, which according to my research repeats 4 times, one of them being a drastic variation. I'm going to be using pitch CAS and duration CAS to argue that the aria as a whole is 1. For part 1, I'm going to explain what pitch and duration CAS are in my own words. Part 2, I'm going to give my analytic observations overall and what I researched. Finally, in part 3, I'm going to explain how these tools are relevant in bringing everything in the aria together. Okay, so we just watched that, and then this picture of Maurice Ravel and a picture of like the stage. Okay, anyways, part 1, what is pitch and duration CAS? What does it mean? To get it out of the way, CAS stands for contour adjacent series. The use of these angled brackets is to phrase them, and then a 0, positive minus sign to describe them. For pitch contour adjacent series, if the note goes up from the note before, we will use a positive sign. And if the next note goes down, we will use a negative sign. If it stays the same note, we don't add anything. For duration contour adjacent series, we use a positive sign to show the next note is longer and a negative sign to show that the next note is shorter, and a 0 to show the note duration stayed the same. Okay, out of the way. Part 2, analytic observation using pitch and duration CAS. As mentioned in the introduction, Hola Pito y Hablo la Aventura is a very chaotic piece of music. With the background of what is going on, it makes sense. She's a chaotic person. Conception, the lady singing it, is in a state of distress with her lovers. I'm here to argue that, like her character, even though it's a confusing piece, it's seemingly one. For starters, I'd like to point out how Ravel uses the starting strophic line exactly 3 times, the exact one. They all have the same duration and pitch CAS, and I would classify them all as section A. And I'm going to now present them. Here we see from the 2 big large green marks, that's the first phrase. So, and then down here I have labeled the pitch CAS and the duration CAS. Next one, exactly the same, exactly the same. Next one, exactly the same. All right, yeah, so the same. All right, next here are the contour adjacent series for measures 2, 3, 10, 12, and 46, 47, which I'm showing you. 46 and 47 is what we did not hear in the recording. Next, here we see the pitch contour adjacent series for measures 2, 3, 10, 12, and 4. Yeah, exactly what I'm showing. Yeah. A lot of the people would argue that these are primes, and for the first time we see this. I believe that it is all the same, it's just A. But it depends, but I'm going based off of pitch and duration CAS. Later in measures 1921, we see the variation of the first phrase, just transposed up, right here marked. It has the same pitch and duration contour adjacent series as the phrases that start on F. The only difference is this one starts on A. -1 on the duration because the language, he decides to make that a quarter note, which you see at the very end, and we see the difference there. But besides that, the exact same. I would consider this one. Oh, let me finish reading this. I would consider this one A prime due to how similar they are, including the pitch and duration contour adjacent series and comparing them to the ones that's starting on F. We then see a different variation of this, measures 35 to 38. I would call this A triple prime because it is not exactly the same as A, but here we see the top medulla from measures 17 and 18 leading on to the ah. However, the words change and our pitch contour adjacent series stays the same but changes at 37. Instead of going down a scale, we see it go up on the word couled. However, our duration contour analysis series stays the same, consistent to the original A section. So here's the first one we see, leading into what I believe is the A prime. We see it again right here. Yeah, sorry, I skipped that. But yeah, we see it right here first. I'm not sure if you can see my mouse, but at the beginning, these right here, and then we see it repeat here. The only difference is the phrases after. Okay. Now that we've looked at these big A components, we can see how it all ties together and how cohesive this is. Now let's look at the smaller sections of this aria to help us conclude that the cohesion is there. We see in measures 32 and 33 how these two phrases have the same pitch and duration contour analysis shown on this. Okay, and then I'm going to show on the slide right here. Okay, right here, sorry. Um, we see right here how both of them have the same pitch CAS and duration CAS, and we see it right here as well, exact same. Now, while all of them might not have both the same pitch and duration contour adjacent series, some of them have the same duration contour analysis series, and some have the pitch one. For examples, measures 12 through 15, we see the same duration contour analysis on Ese Jean se dice español en Dans le pays de Doña Sol. Well, right here, we see the exact same duration contour analysis series. Then we see it again right down here. But it does not have the same pitch contour analysis series. And then we see it here. We have the pitch CAS, the exact same, and we see it down there as well. And I believe we see this again. Okay, yeah. Okay. Now, in measure 6 to 7, we see the similar pitch contour analysis series, but obviously not the same duration. Et faut-il quelques deuxièmement is almost the same variation from le manque de tempérament. They share the same CAS, but different duration CASs. So, we just look at that. Okay. So, part 3. Why are these tools helpful to me? The use of pitch and duration contour analysis series was helpful to me because I am personally learning this aria currently. When I first looked at it, like many young singers, I didn't know where to start. And by looking at this, you can tell, like, it's very confusing. From a glance and first listen, everything sounded so different. The piano line was no help. But doing a deep dive at pitch and duration contour analysis series, I was able to see how if I learned the first phrase, I had already learned 4 different parts of the aria. Many tiny sections were just repetitions of something that had just happened. I never thought that tools in my post-tonal theory class would help me further my understanding of how my aria works and coming together when there is no cohesion to be heard. But I'm so glad I chose this, and I have enjoyed this project so much, and I hope to do this with my future arias.